One night, I was watching The Conjuring at home with my little sister when we heard someone putting a key into our front door and opening it. We were sitting in the living room next to a sliding door that was very close to the front door, so we both heard it very clearly. Now, this didn't alarm us since we knew our dad had recently gone out to get some stuff, so we just assumed he had returned. "Dad, are you back already?" I casually asked. There was no response. "Dad?" I asked again, thinking he had not heard me the first time. Again, silence. At this point, I got the feeling that something wasn't quite right, and I could tell by the look on my sister's face that she was quite nervous as well. I'll note that up to this point she had spent the evening rolling her eyes at horror movies cliches, and she very rarely gets scared. We looked at each other for a moment, wondering what we should do, before we started hearing a few more scattering sounds from right outside the sliding door. I was frozen in fear by this stage. I tried one more time in a louder but shakier voice. "Dad, is that you?" Please respond, repeated in my head. But the silence continued. Now, at this point, I'm freaking out, and I literally jumped off the couch. My sister also abruptly got up and started rapidly walking toward the other end of the room, which leads to the kitchen area. She later revealed to me she was planning on grabbing a knife. She had this horrified look on her face that I hadn't seen before. We looked at each other in nervous silence. I didn't really know what to do, and I didn't want to make any further sounds. I finally decided to walk up to the sliding door and began opening it, as slowly as possible, peering into the darkness. I know, I literally became the idiot who investigates the unknown, creepy noise without anything to protect myself with. When the door was finally opened wide enough, I poked my head out and scanned the corridor, preparing for the worst. To my surprise, there was no one there. But what was even more strange was that the front door was still completely shut. We never heard the door close. My sister and I were obviously both extremely relieved as we were almost certain that there was an intruder in the house. After this, I immediately went to ask my mom, who was situated in her bedroom at the other end of her house, if it was her or whether she had noticed anything. She told me that she thought my dad had come home as well, and she also heard someone opening the front door. Around half an hour later, which felt like an eternity at the time, as we were still quite shaken from the incident, my dad finally arrived home and confirmed that he had not come home earlier. To this day, my sister and I still have no idea what happened that night. Growing up, I lived in the countryside with only a few houses near us, and both my parents worked full-time jobs in town. Because of this, I spent many of my summer days at home by myself. When I was 14 years old, I had just gotten out of the shower and I was getting ready in front of the bathroom mirror when I heard someone in the living room. The majority of our house had hardwood floors, and there was a very distinct sound when someone walked through the living room. I didn't think much of it because even though I was home alone, my parents often drove home during lunch to eat. After the person walked around the living room for a couple of minutes, I finally called out, "Mom? Dad?" but received no response. Instead, the walking just stopped. I had my cell phone in the bathroom, so I called my mom and asked if she was home. She told me no and that my dad wasn't either. I told her someone was in the house and she told me to get out. Luckily, the bathroom I was using was only a few feet away from the front door, so I opened the bathroom door and ran out into the yard. Later, my mom came to pick me up, and my dad walked through the house, but no one was there. This wouldn't have been too crazy if it weren't for what happened in the following days. A couple of days later, my neighbor's wife, who lived across the street, was taking a nap. She woke up to a sound in her house. When she opened her eyes, there was a man in her hallway. She called out to him and he ran out the front door. When she went outside, her garage door was open, where the man had manually forced it open to get inside. My neighbor's wife's underwear drawer was open, and the man had taken all of her panties while she was sleeping. So naturally, I assumed that the sound in my house the day before involved this man as well. This happened to me a couple of years ago. I have also lived on my own for a long time, so I do not get scared easily. I had just finished reading in bed. I turned off my lamp and settled down to go to sleep, hugging my cat up close to me. This would be around 1:30 in the morning. I closed my eyes and heard a voice say, meow, imitating my cat. My window was open, so I thought it was just someone being weird outside. I opened my eyes, and in the middle of my bedroom was a small boy wearing a red jumper, waving his arm above his head. I leapt up like a goddamn ninja and turned the light on. My heart was racing. Now, nothing paranormal had ever happened in this house in the entire time I had lived there. I spent the whole night totally freaked out, only getting a bit of sleep when it started to get light outside. My friends thought this was hilarious when I told them. I was saying, there's no way I'm living in a haunted house, and started googling cleansing, exorcist, and whatnot. The next few nights, other weird stuff started happening. I began sleeping with the TV on, and as soon as I tried to get in sleep, I would hear freaky voices coming from it, or I would notice shadows darting by the side of my bed. It was dreadful. I actually resorted to saying out loud, I'm really tired, so if you could not haunt me for one night, I would really be grateful. I had never really believed in any of this sort of stuff before, so it was like an entire paradigm shift for me. Anyway, I was going on about this to my friends at work, and one of them asked if I was on drugs. Well, funnily enough, I had just started taking this new tablet, Montelukast, for my asthma. When I got home and read the side effects, a rare one was hallucinations. I stopped taking them, and no more hauntings.